Good afternoon, everybody. We're just going to wait a few moments for everybody to start filling in the meeting. Good afternoon, and welcome to the public scoping meeting for the Queen's Future Development Project. For our record, the secret application number for this proposal is 23DME006Q. Today's date is Thursday, December 21st, and the time is now approximately 4:02. The following two slides are for those who wish to enable live interpretation of this presentation. For those of you who like to listen to this in English, there is no need to make any selection. Please do not select English option. For today's meeting, the main English-based presentation is being offered in original audio channel under the interpretation options. This screen is for those who wish to view the meeting with American Sign Language interpretation. And to start off, introductions, I'm Ingrid Young, and I'm the project manager for this project on behalf of the Mayor's Office of Environmental Coordination, MOEC. I'll be chairing today's scoping meeting. The Office of the Deputy Mayor for Housing and Economic Development and Workforce is acting as the lead agency for the proposal's environmental review. As lead agency, we will oversee the preparation and completion of the Environmental Impact Statement, or EIS, for the Queen's Future Development Proposal. Please note that this meeting is being recorded. So this screen explains the options you have for providing comments on the draft scope of work. If you signed up to speak before the meeting, during the registration process, we have your name and you will be called during the testimony portion of this meeting. If you did not sign up to speak before the start of this meeting but would like to speak, please identify yourself using the raise hand feature on Zoom. Instructions for this are being shown on screen now and will be shown at the end of the applicant's presentation. If you are joining by phone only, you will dial *9 to indicate your desire to provide verbal testimony. Participants using the raise hand function or the *9 will be added to the end of the pre-registered speaker list. Once all pre-registered speakers have been given the option to provide testimony, as well as the first round of hand raises, we will take a short break. This will allow anyone else who's attending the meeting who may be considering providing testimony today time enough to raise their hand. We will then resume the meeting, and once all remaining raised hands have been addressed, we will then conclude the formal testimony portion of the meeting. I will give you a minute to read these instructions before I move on. And again, these instructions will appear on screen after the applicant's presentation and will remain on screen during the testimony portion of the meeting. So today we are here to receive your comments on the draft scope of work for the environmental impact statement for the Queen's Future proposal. The draft scope of work identifies all subjects that will be analyzed in the upcoming EIS and explains how those subjects will be studied. The draft scope of work is available on Seeker Access website, which is currently on your screen, and additionally, a link will be provided for Seeker Access in the chat feature of this webinar. As you can see on the screen, we had publicly noticed this, the publication of the draft scope of work, EAS, and the notice of this meeting. So the purpose of today's scoping meeting is to allow for public participation in the preparation of the EIS at the earliest stage possible. Toward that end, the lead agency will have the opportunity to receive comments on the draft scope from elected officials, government agencies, community board representatives, and members of the public. We also welcome written comments on the draft scope of work, and written comments can be submitted through 5 p.m. on January 12th, a Friday, 2024. We've recently extended this comment period from its original date on January 2nd. We will also be publicly noticing this extension period. At the end of the written comment period, the Deputy Mayor's Office as lead agency will review all of the comments, those we hear today, as well as the written comments received. Comments received will be considered and incorporated as responded to as appropriate in the final scope of work. And it is the final scope of work that will serve as the basis for preparing the draft EIS. Today's scoping meeting marks the beginning of the environmental review process for the Queen's Future Development Proposal. No decisions will be made today regarding the draft scope of work. The purpose of the meeting is to allow the public to provide their comments about the draft scope of work and to allow the Deputy Mayor's Office to listen and record those comments. It is important for all voices to be heard today. I'd like to focus on the structure of today's meeting, which is going to be divided into 3 parts. During the first part, the applicant team will give a brief overview describing the proposal, the proposed actions, and the draft scope of work. During the second part of the meeting, we will be receiving comments on the draft scope from elected officials, government agencies, and community board representatives. During the third and final part of the meeting, Deputy Mayor's Office will receive comments from the general public. The meeting will end when everyone who has signed up to provide testimony or has raised their hand in this meeting has had a chance to be heard. So here are a few logistics for today's scoping meeting. This protocol is intended to ensure that everyone has a chance to speak and that all voices can be heard. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called and you will be prompted to unmute your microphone. Please note that readying speakers can take some time, so we ask for everyone's patience. Once you have unmuted your microphone, you will be asked to convey your remarks. To allow us to hear from everyone who wishes to speak today, we ask that you please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. At the 3-minute mark, your time will expire and you will be asked to conclude your remarks. There are a few exceptions to this 3-minute time limit. Elected officials, for example, are given the courtesy of jumping to the front of the queue and are not limited to 3 minutes. An additional note of instruction for those of you joining us by phone today: if you wish to provide testimony via telephone, please select *9 to raise your hand. Please listen for me to call out the last 4 digits of your phone number and at that point, you will be given the temporary ability to share your testimony. You must press *6 to unmute your telephone. We will then be able to hear you speak. When your testimony is complete or your 3 minutes have expired, we will mute you again. Please note that muting and unmuting registered speakers may take a moment, and we ask for your patience with this process. Before we begin the testimony portion of the meeting to hear your comments, we will hear from David Court of VHB and David Karnofsky of Fried Frank, representing the applicant for the proposed project, followed by Nancy Doon of VHB, the consultant supporting the Deputy Mayor's Office in the preparation of the project's environmental impact statement. I'd like to introduce David Court, who will provide a brief description of the proposed project. If you are joining us on your computer or via the Zoom app, you will see the presentation on your screen as he speaks. David?
Thank you, Ingrid. Good afternoon. My name is David Court, and I'm a principal with VHB. I'm happy to be here today representing the applicant, Queens Future LLC, in their application for approvals for the proposed Queens Future project. The proposed project is an opportunity to transform underutilized parking lots at CityField into a unique mixed-use development. The development will provide a series of public amenities and at least 20 acres of public park space. As shown on this slide and outlined in red, the development site is approximately 78 acres of land, bounded by Seaverway to the east, the MTA Corona Yard to the south, Grand Central Parkway and Shea Road to the west, and Northern Boulevard to the north. The site is bisected by the MTA No. 7 subway line along Roosevelt Avenue. Today, the site is comprised of surface parking lots, which are located in mapped parkland. The parking is accessory to CityField and used only on game days during the baseball season and for other private events held at CityField and in Flushing Meadows Corona Park. Certain spaces are also designated for commuter parking. The portion within the development site located south of Roosevelt Avenue also contains 3 MTA structures associated with the subway line. Otherwise, the approximately 60 acres of vacant asphalt parking is not available to the public and remains unused. The project area, shown as the dashed yellow line on the figure, extends slightly beyond the development site. These areas include additional parcels proposed to contain roadway and highway access improvements and improved connections to the 7-train subway station as part of the proposed project. The project is anticipated to include up to approximately 3.7 million square feet of new construction with destination entertainment uses, including a hotel, a music hall, convention and meeting space, restaurant and retail spaces, and a gaming facility. Community facility spaces, as well as administrative office space, ancillary to other uses on the site, are also envisioned. In addition, the project would include at least 20 acres of public park space. Up to 13,750 parking spaces would be accommodated in new structured parking facilities. Approximately 6,300 of these parking spaces would be net new spaces, meaning the number of additional spaces to be provided beyond the 7,400 spaces that already exist today on the surface lots. As shown on this next slide, the commercial development would be located in 2 areas within the development site, labeled as areas A and B. Area A would include the majority of the commercial development, as described earlier, along with the parking. Area B would include uses geared toward local visitors. It would contain restaurant and retail, including a Taste of Queens local food hall, community facility, and administrative office spaces to support the area of Development B and stadium uses, as well as parking. Then areas C and D represent portions of the site that would be developed with multi-level parking structures. The areas shown in green represent the 20 acres, at least 20 acres of public park space that will be open to the public every day of the year. This next slide shows a project site rendering. and this includes more details on what these spaces are anticipated to look like. Completion of the proposed project is anticipated by 2030. I will note that the figure shown here is not included in the published draft scope of work. However, the applicant previously released and published this image in November 2023, and this can also be found on the project website, which can be found at the address www.metropolitanpark.com. The public park space will include spaces for both passive and active recreation throughout the site, with landscaped areas, walking paths, athletic fields, and other sports facilities. The park space would be open to the public every day of the year. These new public open spaces would provide a major new amenity to local residents, including residents of Flushing, Corona, Jackson Heights, Elmhurst, and the Willets Point neighborhood, as well as visitors. The project would also include an improved connection to the Met's Willets Point 7 train station to enhance transit access and functionality to the development site and the surrounding neighborhood. Any proposed improvement is subject to approval and coordination with the MTA. The project would also include highway access improvements for Grand Central Parkway, realignment of roadways, and traffic management measures that would improve circulation to and from the site. The project also includes improvements along sidewalks, pathways to the waterfront, and area bike lanes to help enhance connections to the surrounding neighborhoods and the waterfront. The redevelopment overall would promote economic development, enhance the visitor experience, increase tourism, and create thousands of quality jobs for area residents. To facilitate the proposed project, the applicant is seeking several city and state approvals, and I'll now pass it over to David Karnofsky to discuss these approvals.
Thank you, David. Good afternoon. My name is David Karnofsky. I'm a partner at Fried Frank, a land use counsel to the applicant. Several city and state approvals are needed to implement the proposed project. The city approvals include amendments to the official city map to demap the parkland in the area occupied by Area A and reflect the proposed changes to the roadway network, a zoning map amendment, a disposition of city property by lease, and additional land use actions as may be necessary to implement the project. In addition, the site is currently subject to a lease for operation of the stadium and parking. The project therefore requires city approval of amendments to the lease and other related project agreements with the city. It also requires approval of proposed public realm improvements and infrastructure by the relevant city agencies shown here on this slide, as well as authorization of potential financing by the New York City Industrial Development Agency. The state approvals. The state approvals include state legislation authorizing the alienation of portions of parkland, approval by state DOT of highway access improvements, approval by the MTA for improved connections to the 7-line train station, and approval by the New York State Gaming Facility Location Board and a license from the New York State Gaming Commission. I will now turn it over to Nancy Doon, who will discuss the framework for the EIS under the draft scope of work.
Good afternoon. I am Nancy Doon with VHB. The draft scope of work sets the framework for the EIS, including a description of the methodologies for the 19 technical areas that will be studied in the EIS. The framework for the EIS is based on the guidelines of the City Environmental Quality Review, or SEQR Technical Manual. As described earlier, the year the project will be completed is 2030, which is referred to as the build year in the EIS. The overall EIS framework will be to analyze the difference between the no action and with action conditions in that 2030 future build year. Let's start with the no action, which is the future on the development site and in the surrounding area without the project in the year 2030. For the development site, that 2030 no action future will be the continuation of existing conditions as a surface parking lot. In the surrounding area, there are several projects that are proposed or currently under construction that will be completed by 2030. Of note, Willets Point redevelopment phase 1 and phase 2, shown here to the east of the development site, will be included in this 2030 future no action condition. All of the 2030 no action projects are listed in Appendix A of the draft scope. That 2030 no action condition is established as the future baseline, and then the Queens future project is added to this baseline and analyzed as the 2030 future with action condition. The with action condition for the development site is the program and design described earlier. Finally, we compare that 2030 no action condition to the 2030 with action condition to determine if there are impacts resulting from the project. This slide shows all of the 19 technical areas that will be studied in the EIS. I will not describe all of these because the detailed methodology for each is included in the draft scope. As I mentioned earlier, all of these analyses will be prepared in accordance with the SEQR technical manual. Several city and state agencies will also be involved in the review of some of the EIS technical areas. Shortly, I will describe some key areas of analysis, but before I move on to those, I wanted to touch on some areas on this slide as examples. Community facilities and services. The project will result in additional year-round visitors to the development site, and therefore, the EIS will consider the indirect impacts on police and fire protection services. Water and sewer infrastructure. This chapter of the EIS will assess whether the project has the potential to impact the city's water distribution or sewer system, particularly the capacity of the wastewater treatment plant and the sewer conveyance system. And as a last example, construction, a detailed construction analysis will be included with quantitative assessments of the transportation network during construction and the potential impacts from construction noise and air emissions. The next slides will describe in more detail some key areas of analysis. The first analysis area in the EIS will be land use, zoning, and public policy. This analysis will describe if the project is compatible with the surrounding land uses and zoning, as well as relevant public policies. That surrounding area will be a quarter-mile study area. Since the development site is located in the coastal zone, one of the public policies that will be examined is the New York City Waterfront Revitalization Program. The parking areas that comprise the majority of the development site are mapped parkland. However, for EIS purposes, the current parking use is not considered a public open space use based on the guidelines in the SEQR technical manual. As stated earlier, the project itself would include at least 20 acres of public park space. The EIS will include an assessment of the direct effects on public open space as a result of the project. An assessment of indirect effects on open space will also be included because the new commercial uses would result in additional workers that may use public open space. All of these analyses will be conducted in coordination with the city's Parks Department. Since the development site is changing from all surface parking today to a development that will include new buildings, parking structures, and public open space, several chapters in the EIS will assess this change, particularly related to the new building forms. Those include urban design and visual resources, shadows, and historic resources. Specifically, the EIS will examine the compatibility of the project with the urban design and visual resources viewpoints in the surrounding area. In terms of shadows, the EIS will examine potential shadow impacts on sunlight-dependent resources, which are important natural features, publicly accessible open space, or historic features that are sunlight dependent. Lastly, the EIS will consider potential impacts to historic and cultural resources, which includes portions of Flushing Meadows Corona Park, which has been determined to be eligible as a historic district on the National Register of Historic Places. The transportation chapter of the EIS will analyze all modes of transportation, including traffic, transit, and pedestrians. In terms of traffic, the EIS will analyze both the local traffic network, which is approximately 50 intersections, as well as the regional highway network that includes the Grand Central Parkway, the Whitestone Expressway, and Northern Boulevard. Lastly, the project itself is proposing changes to the traffic network shown in this figure in the form of new and modified intersections, and modifications to access to the highways and the local roadway network. Staying on traffic, there will be a detailed analysis that will examine 8 peak periods, 4 periods for non-game days, and 4 periods during Mets game days. In addition, as noted earlier, the project is proposing roadway and access improvements to both the local street network, which includes Shea Road, Boat Basin Place, and Seaver Way, and to the highway network, which includes the ramps to and from the Grand Central Parkway and to and from the Whitestone Expressway. All of these improvements will be reviewed by city and state DOT. In terms of transit, the EIS will include a detailed analysis of buses, as well as the Mets Willets station for 5 time periods. For pedestrians, the EIS will analyze the key walking areas at roadway intersections at approximately 30 pedestrian elements. The EIS will also include a detailed analysis of parking, looking at the parking supply, as well as the utilization of on and off-street parking facilities. The EIS will also consider the safety of all roadway users, pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicles. Lastly, several transportation agencies will be involved in the review of the transportation analyses, including City DOT, State DOT, and the MTA. And that concludes the summary of the draft scope of work, and I will turn it back over to Ingrid.
Thank you, Nancy. So shown on this slide is the email and the standard mail address for providing comments on the draft scope of work, and a reminder that the close of the comment period will be 5 p.m. Friday, January 12th, 2024. And please note that we did extend this comment period by 10 days to reflect additional accommodation for the holidays. This will be noticed per regulation. All right, as mentioned in the beginning of the meeting, if you signed up to speak before the meeting during the registration process, we have your name and you will be called in order you registered. If you did not sign up to speak before the start of the meeting but would like to speak, please identify yourself using the raise hand function on Zoom. Instructions for this are being shown on your screen now. And if you are joining by phone only, you may dial *9 to indicate your desire to provide testimony. Participants using the raise hand function or *9 will be added to the end of the pre-registered speaker list. Once all pre-registered speakers have been given the option to provide testimony, as well as the first round of hand raises from those wishing to provide testimony but have not yet pre-registered, we will take a short break, and this will allow for anyone else in the meeting who may be considering the opportunity to speak, to raise their hand. We will then resume the meeting, and once all remaining raised hands have been addressed, we will then conclude the formal testimony portion of the meeting. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes to share their comments, assuring that everyone gets a chance to provide their thoughts here tonight. And a note, you may submit additional testimony via email or mail if you are not able to conclude your comments in the 3 minutes this evening. I'll begin by calling the name of those who have registered to speak, or the last 4 digits of your phone number if you are using the telephone dial-in option and not the Zoom app. Elected officials, community board district managers or chairs, or representatives of government agencies will be provided the courtesy of speaking first. We will announce the next 3 speakers periodically so as to prepare you for your opportunity to provide your testimony. Please listen for your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number and be prepared to unmute yourself when instructed to share your testimony. As mentioned, when your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number is called, you will be asked to unmute yourself, and we will make sure you are ready before starting the time clock. A clock will be displayed on the screen showing how much of your 3 minutes of speaking time remains to share your remarks. When the 3 minutes have passed, you will be muted and invited to send any remaining comments to MOEC's mailing or email address. Please state your name and affiliation if you have one for the record. As a reminder, this is the scoping meeting for the Queen's Future Development Project. Speakers are reminded to speak clearly and limit their comments to the draft scope of work for this project. We also ask that speakers exercise civil conduct during their testimony. Speakers using inappropriate language will be muted and cautioned before being allowed to continue. Please also be reminded that this is not a question and answer session. This is for sharing remarks or comments only. No specific questions will be answered today. When speaking, please remember to speak slowly, clearly, and enunciate effectively, as this meeting is being simultaneously interpreted into American Sign Language, Korean, Mandarin, and Spanish. As mentioned previously, the priority speakers will have the courtesy of speaking first. After they have concluded, we will turn to our list of pre-registered speakers. So the first speakers today will be Tammy Rose, followed by Ken Cohen, followed by Simon Pellman. As speakers are readied or shift spaces, if they are not present, we will announce any change to the speaker list. Do we have Tammy Rose ready to speak?
Hi, Ingrid. It appears Tammy is not yet with us at this time.
Okay. I'd like to call Ken Cohen then. Mr. Cohen, are you available?
I am available. Thank you.
Terrific. You're welcome to speak.
My name is Kenneth Cohen. I am a member of Queens Community Board 8, as well as a co-president for the NAACP Northeast Queens branch. And by profession, I am a member of IBEW Local 3, which is the Electricians Union for New York City. As a community leader, and specifically a part of the Black community in Flushing, I'm very in favor of the project at this on the grounds of CityField. For many generations, the Black community here in Flushing has been neglected as far as development in this portion of our borough. Oftentimes, we're brought to the table way after developments have already been accepted and developments have already gone through the process of getting the approvals that they need. However, this is a very unique situation um, in the sense that, the group that is presenting this project has brought all the communities, not just the Black community, but all the communities of Flushing, all the communities in the surrounding area to the table to get an idea of what they would like to see at this particular project. I'd like to speak, I personally feel that there are many advantages to the development that is being proposed. However, I'd like to specifically target in on the job opportunities that will present themselves. There are 3 housing projects that reside in the Flushing area. You have Bland houses, Latimer houses, and Pominock houses. And, those are communities where really good paying jobs are a necessity. All the development that takes place in the area never provide any opportunity for the residents that live here in this portion of the borough. And I see this as an opportunity where we can sort of change that. I read articles recently about the Vegas casino workers and the raises that they've been able to negotiate for themselves and all of the quality of life advancements they're able to advocate on their behalf. And I wonder, why not our residents? Why not the Flushing community? This is an opportunity for people to have access to employment that can be life-changing. And that's not something that people of Flushing, especially Black people of Flushing, have seen, I want to say, ever. And I've lived in this community all my life. From a career standpoint, I'm a union electrician, and we, in our conversations with the Cohen administration and everybody that's a part of this project, they've promised that they're going to work with the building trades in order to make sure that this is built union in our union town. So that will allow families to continue to work for that American dream that we all are looking for. And I really, really hope that, the broader community understands how important that a project like this can be, especially from the job perspective alone. Like, as I said, I see all of the benefits that a project like this can bring, but if we solely look at the job creation that this will have and the way that will positively affect our community, I don't understand why anybody would be against an opportunity like this. So, I really hope that this is something that goes through. I hope that our community is able to take advantage of all the job creation. And, with job creation becomes all of the runoffs. The construction workers will patronize the local community and those small businesses thrive. There's so many layers to how this is beneficial to our community. So, as I said, I'm very in favor of it. And I hope that this is something that is pushed through. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We appreciate you providing testimony today. For our next speaker, we have Simon Pellman. If you are available to unmute yourself.
I am here.
Thank
Can
you.
you hear me?
I can hear you. The floor is yours.
Can you see me? Okay. How do I get? All right. My name is Simon Pellman, and I am a member of Community Board 8, as is Mr. Cohn. I'm also the elected district representative in this neighborhood. I live 3 miles from the project and I work a mile from the project. I am very, very happy that someone finally has figured out what to do and how to do it so that this area is not only developed, becoming productive, creating jobs, and having an entertainment center, which is very well needed in Queens. I remember going to the World's Fair in 64 and 65. That was an economic engine in Queens, both for jobs and entertainment. But since then, nothing has really happened. And as you know, New York City is losing people because there are no jobs, there's no future. As Ken Cohn said, this would be an economic engine that would bring not only jobs, but economic development and money to the neighborhood. It would create jobs that would be tax paying, union, advantages to neighborhoods and people who right now don't have it. The entertainment would be very important too. If I'm going to a CityField game, if I'm at Mets, and if I want to watch the US Open, well, afterwards I'm going to Manhattan because that's where the hotels are, that's where the entertainment is. We're losing that revenue from Queens. This would bring economic gains to our neighborhood. It would also be very effective in creating an atmosphere that families would be proud of, people would be proud of. And as a district leader, we need that. We need to be able to keep the people in Queens. We need to bring economic development. We need to bring tax revenue. We need to be proud of what we have in Queens. And this project, Metropolitan Park, does all that. And I envision being there, enjoying it, and trying to get Mr. Cohn to let me be there with him. And and instead of running to Atlantic City to do a little bit of gambling, drive a mile, park, relax. Thank you very much for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Pellman. We appreciate your testimony. The next speaker, if you are prepared to unmute yourself, we welcome Mitch Lisker. Mr. Lisker, are you ready?
At this time, I don't see Mitch in the participant list. If you are using the telephone, if you could hit *9 to raise your hand, we can unmute you, Mitch.
Okay, if we don't have a hand raised, then we will move on to Shane. Is it Shane Thomas Henry? I'm sorry, Chanel?
Chanel, we saw you come off mute, but then go back on mute. There you go.
I apologize for that. It is Chanel Thomas Henry. I am actually submitting written comments.
Okay, so you do not wish to speak today, but will submit written.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it. The next speaker to unmute yourself, if you are prepared, is Michael D. Valera.
Hello?
Hello, is this Michael?
Yes, it is.
Okay, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you. My name is Michael D. Valera. I am a member of Community Board 3, and I just wanted to say that I am wholly in favor of Queens Future's plan for Metropolitan Park. I see this as a culmination of a vision that has started probably 30 years ago with the Beam administration, when they said that they were going to clean up the junkyards. And as a lifelong resident of Corona, Queens, my windows look at CityField. So I've been looking at CityField for the past 50 years. And I can remember coming home from high school, walking across what was then the tundra of the parking lot to get home, and just imagining what it could be like if someone had vision to change what I've always known it to be, which is a parking lot. It's been a parking lot since the 30s. It never was a park. It's always been a parking lot. And now we have the wherewithal, the vision, and hopefully we have the passion to make a change that will allow and see people as they could be in a park setting. So what people forget is, yes, there's going to be a hotel and a casino, which is, the hotel is badly needed in this area. We don't have any 4 or 5-star hotels in this area. So when people go to the US Open, there's no place for them to stay. But more importantly, for the neighborhood people, what do we do during the 7 months when the Mets are not playing? It's just a parking lot. And so what I would like to see happen is that although some people are complaining that we need to have parks, and we're going to have parks in this proposal. This is something that is going to happen. There'll be 20 plus acres of parkland. We'll also be remediating the ground so that we don't have asphalt, so that the water will be absorbed into the ground, so that we don't have a heat sink here. But most importantly, there's community involvement. And the organizers, from Steve Cohen on down, have allowed the community to be absolutely intrinsically involved in the planning of this. And that is a revelation, because normally we are not included. So to see the possibility, and for me to think back 35 plus years coming home from high school, and now think that, you know what, there may be an opportunity, there may be a change, and it will be something that most of us will appreciate, and that those of us who are coming up will be able to share in, is something that I look forward to seeing. So I hope that the organizations involved push forth this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De Valeria, for your comments. Next up, if you are prepared to unmute yourself, is Cody Herman. Is Cody Herman present?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
Please begin.
Yeah, 1 second. I have a lot of concerns about this project. Just to be upfront, I have concerns about climate resiliency. I have concerns about displacement and neighboring communities. And I really hope all of that is considered and looked into. Really honing in on land use and policy impacts. I mean, we're talking about alienating 65 acres of public parkland. And really, how will the EIS kind of understand what that means for people, and the value of public space versus private space? How will the EIS take that into account? Also kind of looking into the actual numbers of parkland provided, and what land stays private and what land becomes public throughout the process, and understanding also the socioeconomic impact. It's like 37 million square feet of construction. And there's a lot of impacts that's going to have a lot of impacts on the surrounding communities, also future communities living in Willets Point and the affordable housing. So understanding a realistic timeline for when construction might happen, and who's going to be living in the area, where will they be, things like that. Really stressing the understanding of open space. How, like, again, this is open space now, but it will be buildings. And I think that will probably significantly change things. Yeah, I think that's the gist of it. Also having real numbers on like stormwater retention and detention, understanding how many gallons of water will be stored either through retention or detention in the project. And I think something we've heard a lot from elected officials is that this project might stop flooding in neighboring communities like East Elmhurst. But from my understanding, this is actually, the majority of this land is part of the separate sewage system, not the combined sewage system. So I don't really understand how this part of the sewage system that most of CityField and the surrounding parking lots are a part of, you know, how does the separate sewage system actually impact flooding in areas where combined sewage systems are present? I would really appreciate clarity on that through the EIS process. And I will also submit written comment as well. But needless to say, I'm incredibly skeptical of this project and the so-called benefits that they're promising, which are really just benefits to the ultra wealthy and not to the surrounding communities in Flushing and East Elmhurst and Corona and College Point. So again, I just really hope everyone remains incredibly skeptical when dealing with somebody like Steve Cohen, who is, according to Forbes, like the 85th richest person in the world. I just highly doubt that they have our best interests in mind. Thank you so much.
We thank you for your testimony, Ms. Herman, and we look forward to your written testimony submitted. I would like to remind any speakers coming up, please speak slowly because we are doing translation and American Sign Language. We appreciate this. The next few speakers will be Rebecca Pryor, followed by Bright Lim, followed by Carmel Wilson. Now, Ms. Pryor, are you present and ready to unmute?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm the executive director of the Guardians of Flushing Bay. We're a coalition of park users, dragon boaters, local residents organizing for a healthy and equitably accessible Flushing Bay and Flushing Creek. Guardians is also a member of the Flushing for Equitable Development and Urban Planning Coalition, or FED-UP is the acronym. We're a coalition of community-based organizations that builds power with those most impacted by local large-scale luxury developments. I just want to note that FedUp submitted a comment extension request asking for a total 60-day comment period after the public hearing, so an additional 50 days. We submitted this request because the comment period falls within major holidays and because more time is needed to connect with the diverse communities impacted by the project. Just to be clear, Guardians and FedUp oppose this project. We believe that that our communities that surround the area deserve better than a 78-acre land grab on public parkland that allows for a casino. Rather than expand on this opposition in this time, I'm going to focus on just speaking for Guardians of Flushing Bay, and I'm focusing on our comments on where this draft scope of work fails and needs to be expanded for the final scope. Both Guardians and FedUp will submit written comments. For Guardians focus today, where the draft scope fails, I want to name 4 main areas. The first is the land use and policy impact section. This project proposal comes before the passage of parkland alienation that would alienate at least 65 acres of parkland, and that's going to be needed to build this project. The final scope of work must study the impact of that alienation because it will be required for this site to be built. So we ask that it please be fully assessed in the final scope of work. I also want to note the socioeconomic impacts. The current draft scope of work only proposes to study the indirect commercial displacement, which is really important, and we're glad that it does so. But it needs to also assess the impacts of indirect residential displacement. The project proposes over 3.7 million square feet of construction. The impact of indirect commercial and indirect residential impacts could be massive, and they need to be understood within the compounded impacts of other local development projects like the Special Willets Point District and the Special Flushing Waterfront District. I also want to note open space impacts. That section, it mentions that the DEIS will study the impact on open space that's caused by an influx of full-time workers, but it doesn't mention the influx of impact of visitors that will be coming to the site. This area is largely going to be impacted by major hotels, so visitors needs to be included. The final impacts include public health, as well as sewer infrastructure, water infrastructure, transportation, public health, and climate change, and we'll mention those in our written comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Pryor. We appreciate your testimony today and look forward to receiving written comments. There are a few people who are not present, so I would like to announce the next few speakers. We have, is Bright Lim present?
At this time, I do not see Bright in the attendee list.
Okay.
Bright, if you are a telephone caller, please hit *9 to raise your hand.
Carmel Wilson, present?
Same with Carmel. I do not see Carmel listed, but Carmel, press *9 if you're on the phone.
And Jamie Ong, are you present?
We do not have Jamie in the list. Jamie, if you are on the phone, press *9, please.
Okay, I'll also take this moment just again to ask participants who are about to give testimony to please state your name, potential affiliation, and speak clearly and slowly for the translators. Do we have Frankie Miranda?
Yes, we do, Frankie, whenever you're ready.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me well?
You're here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Frankie Miranda, and I am the president and CEO of the Hispanic Federation, the premier Latino organization in the nation, representing more than 600 community-based direct health and human service providers. I am taking a break away from my family vacation in Puerto Rico to provide my personal opinion as a longtime resident of Queens on this critical, important project. I am here today to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe Metropolitan Park is not only critically important, this is owed to all residents of Queens. As we work day in and day out with our community-based organizations who have been frontline workers during recent challenging times, we know that our Queens communities have not yet recovered from the disproportionate impact the pandemic had in our neighborhoods. The Metropolitan Park will be a unique and once-in-a-generation transformational opportunity that will bring hope to some of the most impacted areas in New York City, from economic development, economic mobility, environmental remediation, and environmental justice. This is the right thing to do for our community. This project is not only urgently needed, it is owed to Queens. Thank you for allowing me to testify. And again, I want to express my strong support for Metropolitan Park. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda, for providing your testimony. We're checking the current participant list. If you raised your hands, I think you're being put into queue. I believe the next speaker in line is Rabbi Hecht. Is Rabbi Hecht present?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we hear you. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Avraham Hecht, and I live in Richmond Hill. I also have many family members and friends who reside in Queens County, and many of them live in Flushing, right next door to Shea Stadium. I'm here to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. This project will help create 15,000 good-paying jobs in our community. This will also support small businesses. We are excited that 50 acres of asphalt space will be transformed into a community park with athletic fields and playgrounds for youth. I represent over 1,000 youth from Queens County who will benefit from these open spaces and parks. It would also increase safe access to the waterfront. Lastly, the proposed conference center is a wonderful concept which will bring needed tax dollars to our community. I appreciate having input in this initiative, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Rob.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Hecht. Again, we thank everybody for providing testimony and appreciate you speaking clearly and slowly. The next three speakers in line are Nicole Labadis, followed by Ryan Graham, followed by Patrick Young. Nicole, are you present and ready to provide testimony?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. The floor is yours.
Yes, hello. My name is Nicole Labadis, and I live in Latimer Gardens, which is located in Flushing. I'm a lifelong Flushing resident, and my community has not been the same in, I would say, since I was a child. I'm not going to say my age, but it's up there. I believe that this project would benefit all demographics. I feel that Stephen Cohen and his team have done an awesome job as far as including us in the process. I feel that we have been heard, and we continue to be heard. People are listening to the things that we want, things that we would like to see, things that we feel that would benefit our children, the families, people who need jobs. I feel that this project would bring back a sense of family where people can go and have entertainment and be safe. The last time I've been by CityField near the surrounding areas are not safe. There's a lot of things going on Roosevelt Avenue. This project would clear all of that up. People need to be able to walk around and be able to enjoy the amenities that Flushing has. To have any sort of entertainment, you either have to go to Manhattan or you have to go to Long Island or some other place. This project, I feel, will bring a sense of unity and would bring us all together as opposed to being separate. We come from all different faiths, nationalities, and with this project, between the Taste of Queens, bringing everyone together as one, I believe that's what Flushing has been missing, and I totally support this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nicole, for your testimony. We appreciate your time today. I just want to acknowledge that all participants that are currently raising their hands are being accommodated and put into queue. This is taking a little time, so we appreciate your patience. I'd like to see if Tammy Rose is currently present and able to unmute.
Hi, Ingrid. I'm not seeing Tammy in the list, although Tammy may have come in under a different name or could perhaps be a phone caller. Tammy, if you are calling in from a phone, if you could please raise your hand, or if you're using Zoom, if you could rename yourself, that would help us find you.
While we wait for a moment to find Tammy Rose, I would like to call Ryan Graham, if you are prepared to unmute yourself.
Hey, Ryan, you should be able to unmute.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you, Ingrid. Hi everyone. My name is Ryan Graham. I live in Ozone Park, but I happen to represent one of the largest veteran service organizations in the Corona and Central Queens area, along with one of the oldest charters throughout the Veterans of Foreign Wars organization, nationally and internationally. I give my full support for the Queens future plan. This plan, the Metropolitan Park, is, in my opinion, it's going to be a vital addition, along with supporting and enhancing the vibrancy of the local community. This plan, besides being an economic engine through good paying local union positions in the thousands, support of small businesses and local nonprofits, such as veterans organizations within the vicinity of the project, along with additional entertainment options for families in the community, such as year-round music venues and new athletic fields and playgrounds, along with positive environmental parkland, is proof to the dedication and support that I've seen throughout the duration of this project that will definitely support the local community throughout this plan. Ultimately, while some organizations tend to put a focus only on their own internal economic impact. Steve Cohen, from what I've seen, he's given an opportunity, including myself and my organization, to feel heard and included in the process. Somebody did mention it earlier. That's a very big key thing. A lot of organizations that I've seen over the years, whether being in the military or outside working in the aerospace industry and various things I've done after I got out of the military, they tend to be focused internally on their own economic impact. But in my opinion, Mr. Cohen, he's hit all three nails in the head. That's economic, definitely providing good paying local union jobs. Environmental, that's very, very important. I know a bunch of people brought it up, and these questions are very important to be brought up because sometimes things get missed and other parties can bring it up, which is fantastic. And community. I mean, it's a big thing. I know the prior speaker, she mentioned it, everybody working together as a community. And I could tell you from knowing Mr. Cohen, I don't know him personally, but seeing the work he's done, unfortunately, over the years, veterans, people who've served in the military, we tend to always be at the bottom of the barrel. And a lot of people don't realize that Cohen, and he's never really had to do this. He started up a few nonprofits for veterans that are dealing with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injuries. And he does a lot of work. We have every year the annual Military Transition Summit, among many other things within the military and veteran community. And this is just one aspect. There's definitely so many more aspects, but we're just one different demographic. And speaking from that perspective, without a doubt, and especially through this whole
Mr. Graham,
process.
your 3 minutes.
Yes, I apologize, Ingrid. Okay. That's pretty much it. So thank you. I apologize, Ingrid.
Nope.
And
Thank you for
thank you
your
again.
testimony, Mr. Graham. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next up to speak, if you are present, Patrick Young. Again, we thank participants for speaking slowly and clearly and identifying your affiliation if you have one. Is Patrick Young present?
Yes, Patrick.
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
The floor is
You
yours.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Patrick Young. I'm pastor of First Baptist Church at East Elmhurst. I've been here in this community 17 years. And I want to say, I hear this phrase, this word alienation so much. And I've seen our community being alienated from economic development and economic empowerment. And one thing about this Queen Future Development for Metropolitan Park will create opportunities to empower our community with jobs. Over 15,000 jobs, good paying jobs, will be provided for our community, and local hiring will occur. And this is much needed in our community. We have young people who graduate from college, but they cannot find adequate jobs in our community. They cannot come home and contribute to the tax base is so much needed in our community. And so this wonderful project will not just bring economic empowerment, but also it will answer the environmental concerns and that people raise. Opportunity to create park space, create green space in our community, to also empower entrepreneurship in our community. This is much needed project. And I think that finally we have a lifeline to the desert we've been in for a long time. And I appreciate this opportunity to share my wonderful belief that this project will provide the help and strength and needed in our community and also in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Young. We appreciate your testimony today. If the next speaker, Michael Nussbaum, are you present and able to unmute? Michael Nussbaum?
Michael, you should be able to unmute at your discretion. Just sent
Michael.
Michael a request.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Just speak as loudly as you can, and thank you.
This is Michael Nussbaum. I am the president of the Queens Jewish Community Council. I am probably the only person on this call that has both worked at the World's Fair and as well as worked at Shea Stadium. So I was there at 65 and when the World's Fair was there, and the issue of being able to accommodate tens of thousands of people were proven during that World's Fair. This was once a garbage dump until it was redeveloped over 50 years ago. When Shea Stadium came, we had a parking lot that has been there for decades. What has been proposed with Metropolitan Park, in my view, is transformative. When people criticize the issue of parkland being taken away, or as one speaker mentioned, alienation of parkland, this has been designated on the city books as parkland, but we know it's just blacktop for parking. The environmental impact that this will have will be positive, not negative. The land that's now being used for a casino is approximately 2% of the entire development site. It is not one that we love as is currently, but it's transformative if you looked at the images of adding parkland. If one looked at the development and the EIS when the USTA expanded their facility, they removed parkland from Flushing Meadow Park. And during the USTA, they used parkland as a parking lot for the rich and famous. Thousands of cars are parked on parkland. This area now that's being transformed by Metropolitan Park will create underground parking that will take away the environmental negativity of having a parking lot. No one except Mr. Cohen and his team has over the decades tried to do something on this site, both government, both private, and any enterprise. And I heartily support and endorse this project for those reasons. If not for anything, the thousands and thousands of construction jobs that this will bring, as well as the thousands and thousands of jobs that will be permanent, cannot be overlooked. This is a site that is long in need of development, is long in need of creativity, and Flushing Meadow Park has become New York City's entertainment complex with the USTA, with now CityField being developed, as well as a soccer stadium that's now coming there. This is the premier sports center of New York City, and we should look to the future. As they once said of LaGuardia Airport, as a third world country, we can create a major entertainment and sports complex for everybody in this community. And I look forward to supporting this effort in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Nussbaum. Again, we appreciate everybody's patience with the process of addressing all participants that are raising their hand. Please note you are being put into queue, and we will reach out to you as you come up to speak. And next in line, we have Keith Felsenfeld. Is Keith Felsenfeld available?
Hello? Hello?
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Yeah, sure. My name is Keith Felsenfeld, and I live in Flushing. I am here today to express my strong support for the Queens future plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe Metropolitan Park is our opportunity to improve the quality of life for all Queens residents. I grew up in this area, and I am very excited that Metropolitan Park will revitalize the area with acres of new parks. I, along with my fellow Queens residents, will enjoy the soccer fields, batting cages, and other spaces. As a sports lover, I also attended Mets games and US Open every year. It will be more enjoyable with convenient entertainment options nearby. I am excited about the new restaurants, bars, hotels, And I look forward to a new music venue, convention space, and casino. Lastly, I grew up in a union household. I look forward to seeing more well-paying union jobs in our community. Visitors from outside the neighborhood will not have to go to Manhattan for entertainment. This is an opportunity for union jobs and will help the local Queens economy as well. Thank you again for allowing me to testify. I'd like to express my strong support for the Metropolitan Park. And I apologize, I am currently outside. Thank you.
We appreciate your testimony, Mr. Felsenfeld. Next up to speak is Sandra Mendel. Sandra, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please begin.
Hello, my name is Sandra Mandel. I am a district leader in Forest Hills, Queens. I have lived here with my family for the past 23 years. I joined today to express my support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I appreciated when I was invited to contribute ideas to the project during a communication visioning session. It's important for local voices to be heard and included, and the project has done a great job reaching out to the community leaders and stakeholders in Queens. I love living in Queens and raising my family here. And having access to the best of everything. I am excited to support a new destination venue that will offer new restaurants, retail, community spaces, fun activities for the whole family, and a very badly needed hotel here in Queens. And most importantly, for me and my family, more parks and green spaces, something that is sorely needed in our communities. It's a great location for such a project. It makes sense to me to develop it, especially since right now it is 50 acres of underutilized asphalt. This is a great opportunity for Queens to create an economic engine that benefits our communities in many ways, including the creation of jobs and investment in public infrastructure like a renovated and accessible MTA station. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to testify today in support of this project.
Thank you for your testimony, Sandra. Next up, we have Larry Zogby. If you are present and ready to unmute yourself.
Thank you. I'm sure you can hear me.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Larry Zogby. I'm from Long Island City, Queens, and I'm a small business owner for over 4 decades. I echo some of the past sentiments from great paying jobs, from strong economic development and tax revenue. I'm here today to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan of Metropolitan Park. To me, it just makes great business sense. It has the opportunity to seamlessly blend world-class entertainment and Queens cuisine. I cannot think of any other way to bolster the economy with restaurants, bars, a hotel, live music, a convention space, and a casino. I've traveled for 20 years to conventions, and they generate a lot of revenue. These elements combined together act as an economic engine to transform a 50-acre parking lot to generate opportunity, jobs, tax revenue, and so much more. I'm excited about this project for so many reasons. But the biggest opportunity here is to be able to fill this borough and to create an experience for 12 months out of the year, not just for a season. I'm grateful for you allowing me to testify, and I fervently believe with all of the positive remarks of why we should have this Metropolitan Park here today and now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zogby. We appreciate your testimony. Again, I want to remind people to, when you are unmuted, to state your name clearly, slowly, any affiliation that you may have to the community. The next 3 speakers in line will be Zeke Luger, followed by Dirk McCall, followed by Farhana Husani. Mr. Luger, are you here and available to unmute?
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please begin.
That's great. Thanks so much. My name is Zeke Luger. I'm a resident of Forest Hills and a member of the Flushing for Equitable Development and Urban Planning Coalition, aka FedUp. FedUp is a coalition of community-based organizations that builds community power with those most impacted by local large-scale luxury developments. I'm going to pick up where Rebecca left off and focus on 2 key areas where the draft scope of work fails and needs to be expanded for the final scope of work. One of them is the socioeconomic impacts of this plan, of this project. The draft scope only proposes to study the impacts of indirect commercial displacement, but not the impacts of indirect residential displacement. This project proposes 3.7 million square feet of construction. The final scope of work must include a detailed assessment of indirect residential displacement and the compounded impacts of adjacent development projects. The second item I want to highlight is the public health. The project is in the middle of multiple environmental justice communities. Communities have a collective median household income below NYC's median household income. Roughly 90% of residents are Black, Indigenous, or people of color. Based on the EPA standards, all neighborhoods fall into 80th percentile and above for most environmental health indicators. It's critical that public health impacts from construction, air quality, hazardous waste, and other impacts be assessed within the context of their impact on communities who already bear the brunt of environmental burdens. I'll just also mention that, FedUp and me personally are opposed to this project. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your providing testimony, Mr. Luger. I would like to remind everybody that is prepared to speak that, again, we have translation services that are ongoing and we need to speak slowly, and we appreciate everybody enunciating their messaging. Next in line to speak, we have Dirk McCall, followed by Farhana Husani. So, Mr. McCall, are you prepared to unmute?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
please begin.
Hello, my name is Dirk McCall de Paloma, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sunnyside Shines Business Improvement District, where we represent over 300 small, predominantly immigrant-owned businesses along Queens Boulevard and Greenpoint Avenue. I'm also a 30-year resident of Astoria, Queens. I spend all my time in Western Queens, especially along the 7 train corridor. So we do a lot of programming along the 7 line, and anything that brings more programming to the 7 line is really helpful. The Metropolitan Park project is one that will be wonderful for Queens, and I'm here to convey our strong support for the Queens Future Plan. This proposal will strengthen our small businesses in Queens and provide them with new opportunities. My merchants are very excited by the prospect of working more closely with the Mets and the opportunities that the Metropolitan Park project will bring. This is an $8 billion privately funded investment that'll create over 15,000 local, good-paying, permanent, and construction jobs, many of them union jobs. This project prioritizes opportunities for local MWBEs and immigrant-owned businesses, and it will open the door for new economic opportunities for underserved communities across the borough. We're especially excited about the Taste of Queens local food hall, the music hall, and the increased foot traffic that this project will bring along the 7 train. It brings people to and through Sunnyside, and we're very excited by the plan. We strongly support it, and we hope you'll approve it.
Thank you for providing testimony, Mr. McCall. Again, we appreciate everyone speaking slowly and clearly for our translation services. Next speaker, if you are available to unmute yourself, is Farhana Husani.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you now. Please begin.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you for hosting this hearing today. My name is Farhana Hussaini, and I am the Director of Programs and Climate Initiatives at Waterfront Alliance, which is an alliance of more than 1,100 organizations, businesses, and individuals, and is a bi-state organization and a leader in waterfront revitalization, climate resilience, and advocacy for the New York, New Jersey harbor region. We are committed to sustainability and to mitigating the effects of climate change across the region's hundreds of miles of waterfront. I am here today to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe Metropolitan Park is our opportunity to significantly reduce the climate impact to the communities in this neighborhood. This site, formerly a swamp, currently suffers from chronic flooding due to the current structure, which is essentially 50 acres of asphalt. In our current climate crisis, we are now experiencing significant rainfall due to increased climate-related extreme weather events. When it rains, the asphalt doesn't absorb the heavy rainfall and it gets displaced into other areas such as basement apartments. In addition, as we continue to see high record number of temperatures, these 50 acres of asphalt further increase temperatures for communities in and around the neighborhood as it traps heat and radiates this heat throughout the day and night. Extreme heat and flooding are two critical issues impacting this site and the communities living around it, particularly the most vulnerable members of the community. These issues need to be mitigated. Metropolitan Park will be built with over 25 acres of park space that is considered green infrastructure and will be able to absorb rainfall, thereby reducing the amount of water being displaced to other parts of the neighborhood. In addition, to further address flooding issues at this site, Metropolitan Park will be innovative in their use of on-site stormwater management, which will also protect local wildlife. Finally, these 25 acres of park space will help to address the extreme heat in the region by cooling the air and providing shade and canopy for when the temperatures rise. Through all these efforts with the development of Metropolitan Park, not only will the community around the park be better protected from extreme weather events, but will also help to mitigate the current climate crisis through a reduction of greenhouse gases by employing things like green roofs, solar panels, and the highest standards of energy efficiency. Again, I want to express my strong support for Metropolitan Park. Thank you again for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Ms. Husani, for your testimony. Again, we thank participants today for being patient, and those of you who have raised your hands are being put into queue. Nobody is being skipped. We appreciate you, your patience with the process. The next three speakers will be Jackie Smiley, followed by Jocelyn Janelle Estrella, and then Mary Vaccaro. Miss Smiley, are you available to unmute yourself? Jackie Smiley?
Hi, Jackie, you should be able to unmute. Let me send you a request.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please begin.
Okay. My name is Jackie, and I'm a student in Queens. And I wanted to say that I'm in support of this project due to the jobs it would be able to give the community and the space that will be open to the community as well. I think that it'll be very important for the people of Queens to be able to have this space and community. And yeah, I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Smiley. Next in line is Jocelyn Janelle Estrella. Are you present and ready to unmute yourself?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Please begin.
Greetings. I am Jocelyn Henao Estrella, and I'm the Executive Director of Neighborhood Housing Services of Queens. For over 29 years, our HUD Housing Counseling Organization has been providing housing services for local residents in Queens. Our mission is to preserve and revitalize underserved neighborhoods, especially in communities 1 through 4. Two of our biggest needs in the community have always been high housing costs and high rates of underemployment. As we look forward to the future, and as Pastor Young has indicated that our community has been alienated for far too many years, our community needs of economic opportunities to thrive, and the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park could be a much needed investment for our community needs. The transformation of 50 acres of parking lot around CityField into accessible park for the public, designed to be green, capable of absorbing rainfall and providing cooling benefits when temperatures rise, along with the creation of entertainment destination and community space, can generate thousands of well-paying jobs for our community. At NHS of Queens, we understand the significance of jobs, security, and financial stability in the journey towards homeownership. We actively assist our clients for assessing job trainings and unemployment opportunities. However, it is important to note that if these projects move forward, it must be done in the right way, ensuring that the local adjacent community actually benefits from the economic development and receive adequate resources for impact mitigation. We encourage these projects to provide adequate resources to preserve and create sustainable housing opportunities, especially for communities 3, 4, and 7. So far, this project has put our community first by actively listening to the community through community workshops and various engagement, and we encourage them to do the same. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to share my testimony. Mil gracias.
Thank you, Ms. Estrella, for providing testimony this afternoon. Next up to speak is Mary Vaccaro. If you are present and ready to unmute.
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Good evening. My name is Mary Vaccaro. I'm a resident of Bayside, Queens, and I'm the Vice President of Education for the United Federation of Teachers, and most importantly, a mom. I'm here to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe Metropolitan Park will be an opportunity for internships and, most importantly, union labor for our community and our city as a whole. As a trade unionist, union jobs are important to me, my family, and my colleagues. Metropolitan Park will be an $8 million privately funded project under the scope of this work, but it will create tons of union jobs. An estimated 15,000 positions for our local residents of Queens and the city as a whole. Construction positions that can create internships for our students in New York City public high schools, following a career and technical path or something that was formerly known as vocational work. Instead of practicing in a classroom, they can receive real-world experience right in the heart of Queens. Supporting the transformation of the 50 acres of asphalt, which we have heard about through other testimony that is not climate friendly, into a park, improving the air overall, the environmental impact of athletic fields and playgrounds is a win for Queens. A destination for class trips, opportunities to visit the waterfront, and a safe learning environment. Field trips in our own borough instead of going into Manhattan or outside the city limits. As an early childhood teacher, that has always been a challenge. At a review of the plans, it was obvious that Metropolitan Park gives a chance to transform the parking lots around CityField into 25 acres of parks. The plan will create a new bike and walking paths with easy, safe access to the waterfront, having an opportunity to smell the beautiful water and take deep breaths in the fresh air space. As a resident of Queens, living in the most diverse area in the country, it's an honor to have this come to our community. Visitors that come to CityField head straight out of Queens at the end of a game. Instead, they can stay and spend their money here in Queens with our local community. The financial gains are endless while stimulating the economy for Queens as well as New York City. The local community can benefit, alleviating some of the traffic immediately following a game by staying at the restaurants. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am wholeheartedly in favor of this development project, and I look forward to bringing my family and our New York City public school students to the parks and recreation areas around CityField. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Vaccaro, excuse me. The next few speakers we have in line are Dudley Stewart, Helen Ortega, followed by Donovan Finn. And I would like to remind everybody again, please state your name clearly, any affiliations, and give your testimony as clearly and slowly as possible for our translators. Mr. Stewart, are you prepared to unmute?
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. Please begin.
Awesome. My name is Dudley Stewart. I live in Jackson Heights. I've been living here almost 19 years. I'm also a business owner here in Jackson Heights. And I wanted to express my strong support for this project. I've been hearing about it for a long time, talking to people about it, listening to what they say, reading about it. And it seems like everything about it is heading in the right direction as far as using union labor, creating good jobs, and transforming what is right now just an asphalt nightmare into something that will actually be an economic engine for the area. And in my opinion, most importantly, establishing a park there, which is sorely needed because all green space is hugely important in this city. And the more we have, the better. And I do know that it has been parkland for many years, but there's nothing been done about it, and there are no plans to do anything about it other than this. So I think this is definitely the best option that we have right now, and I fully support it. And that's what I want to say. Thank you for allowing me to testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. We appreciate your testimony. Helen Ortega, are you present and prepared to unmute? Helen Ortega?
I'm not seeing Helen present in the list currently.
Okay, we will return to Miss Ortega when she returns. Do we have Donovan Finn present?
So we do, Donovan, you should be able to unmute at your discretion.
Okay, can you hear me all right?
We can. Please begin.
Great. My name is Donovan Finn. I'm an urban planner and humbly an expert in urban climate adaptation and environmental justice. I lived in Queens for almost 20 years and in Jackson Heights specifically since 2007. In my personal and professional opinion, most private development proposals in this city really fail to consider the needs of their surrounding communities or the reality of their contexts. But I think the proposal at hand today is really the best possible deal the city will ever see proposed for this particular site, because it does such a good job at both of those things. It's true that the CityField parking lot is mapped parkland, but it's also true that this area was never really a park, and it hasn't even been green since it was a swamp, later a landfill, and then later a parking lot built by Robert Moses. The fact is that Steve Cohen has a lease on that land, and it'll outlast the lifetimes of just about everyone alive today, and that's just a fact, and it can remain a parking lot forever if that's Cohen's wish. But I think a parking lot that serves a few thousand drivers a few hours a day for 80 days a year is not the best use of that space. The rest of the time, it exacerbates the urban heat island. It contributes to risk from rainfall flooding and combined sewage overflows and other risks. And there's very little to lose, I think, and a lot to gain from reimagining this site for some other use. I think the CIS really needs to pay special attention not only to the costs and benefits that would arise from building this project, but should also focus on quantifying what I think are very real and clear and present environmental, social, and economic costs that will be borne by the surrounding community under the future no action condition. So again, I think this project provides the only realistic strategy from a number of standpoints: logistical, legal, financial, to pay for a project that would transform the CityField area from a source of environmental harms, I'm talking about the parking lot, of course, into a valuable contributor to the city's environmental sustainability, its social resilience, and its economic vitality. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Finn. We'd like to see if Tammy Rose is present and available to unmute yourself. After Tammy, I believe it's Thomas Gretsch. Please begin, Ms. Rose.
Hello, my name is Tammy Rose. I live in Jackson Heights. I've been here for almost 30 years now. I am a member of our community board as well as a small business owner where I educate some of our early learning students. I support this project for multiple reasons. I'm excited about the possibility of turning asphalt into athletic fields and playgrounds that my students can run and play on for years to come, something that's often hard to do here in Queens. Second, I'm beyond thrilled to think of the jobs that will be available to my families. They can now work in their own community instead of commuting to places outside of Queens, giving them more time to spend with their families and build communities with their neighbors, which is something that they oftentimes say that they lack. But mainly, I'm excited about this project because of the way Steve Cohen and his team has approached it. There have been various community meetings where our input has been documented, where we've truly been asked what we feel. And you can tell the next time there's another community meeting, they've listened to what the community has said. They've implemented bike lanes in this proposal. They've implemented jobs, union jobs. So that's a reason why, as a small business owner, that I would love to see Metropolitan Park here so we can keep our business in Queens, we can keep our families in Queens, and our kids will have a place to play and learn for many generations to come. I thank you for letting me speak, and I'd love, love, love to see this project happen.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Rose. Next up, and again, we appreciate everybody stating their name clearly, any potential affiliations, and speak slowly for our translators. Thomas Gretsch, if you are present, followed by Costa Constantinides. Mr. Gretsch, please unmute yourself.
Will do. Can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Hello, my name is Tom Gretsch. I'm the president and CEO of the Queens Chamber of Commerce, representing 1,400 members and 150,000 Queens-based employees. I'm here today to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe Metropolitan Park is our opportunity to grow and strengthen our community. I'm excited about the park because it's an $8 billion privately funded investment that will create 15,000 local good-paying permanent and construction jobs. We'll also create good-paying union jobs right here in our community. It prioritizes opportunities for local and MWBE businesses and bring about thousands of new opportunities for women and underserved communities across Queens. It is important to me that the leaders of Metropolitan Park are committed to hiring locally, supporting minority and women-owned businesses, and offering ongoing workforce training programs. Transforming these 50 acres of parking lots into usable parks for the public and an entertainment destination with live music and restaurants and bars will generate thousands of good-paying jobs. It's an incredible opportunity. I support the transportation of these 50 acres of asphalt into a community. One more thing. One man over 65 years ago used the word parkland so he could control it when he ran the New York City Department of Parks. That man was Robert Mositz. I think it's really important that we stop calling it a parkland. We understand the legalities of having to have it alienated, but we fully and unabashedly support this proposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Gretsch. Next in line to speak is Costa Constantinides, followed by Michelle DeMott. Mr. Constantinides, are you prepared to unmute?
Costa, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Yep.
Please begin.
We heard you for a second there. Could you try again, please? Okay.
Costa, it may be that you have, if you're on a wired microphone, you might have a mute button in line in your device. If you can check that. We're seeing you as unmuted on our end. We're not hearing anything.
Should we move on to Michelle DeMott?
Okay, give me just a moment here.
Mr. Constantinides will come back after Michelle DeMott. Perhaps there's a connection issue with your audio.
Michelle, you should be ready to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Hello, good evening. My name is Michelle DeMott, and I'm the Vice President of External Affairs at Samaritan Daytop Village, one of the largest community-based providers of human services in the state, based in Queens. We provide comprehensive services to more than 30,000 people each year through a network of over 80 programs, primarily located in the 5 boroughs of New York. We offer a rich array of programs for the most vulnerable New Yorkers, including treatment for mental health, substance use disorder, transitional and supportive housing, as well as innovative services for veterans, the unhoused, women, children, youth, seniors, and families. Our ties to the Queens community date back over 60 years, with our first program for troubled youth operating out of a small storefront in Queens. Currently, our organization's headquarters is located in Briarwood on Queens Boulevard. I'm here today to express our strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. This project will bring about thousands of new economic opportunities for women in underserved communities across Queens. Samaritan has been a pioneer in providing services for over 30 years to our veteran community. There are over 200,000 veterans living in New York City and thousands returning from active duty every year. Veterans returning from overseas deployment face difficult reassimilation processes, including issues related to employment, housing, family, reunification, and the psychological transition to civilian life after military service. For these men and women, obtaining and maintaining employment is a high priority and a key goal as part of their overall treatment, recovery, and reintegration plan. Our veteran population specifically has difficulty finding employment due to having a skill set that doesn't necessarily translate to an employable skill stateside. The specialized staff at our veterans programs work with these clients to develop employable skills and vocational trainings as part of our employment readiness services. This project will provide a cohort of individuals who personify the ultimate spirit of patriotic service, personal sacrifice, leadership, commitment, and courage, a dignified opportunity to achieve success in the workplace. Thank you again for allowing me to testify. Again, I want to express my strong support of Metropolitan Park. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. DeMott. I'd like to see if Costa Constantinides is available to unmute.
Yes, do you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
Please begin.
Hi, thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Costa Constantinides. I am a lifelong resident of Western Queens, Astoria, and now East Elmhurst. I am the CEO of the Variety Boys and Girls Club of Queens, an organization that serves 4,000 young people in after-school programming in the borough. I am in strong support of Metropolitan Park for many reasons. This asphalt parking lot is an impediment to our community in that it separates CityField, it separates Flushing from Corona and Jackson Heights, and it is except for their days that there are game days, it is a desolate area, unable to be reached by the public. The vision here connects and builds community. It connects our communities and builds green space for them to play on. It provides the community an opportunity to come and have entertainment, casino, play green space. It's an opportunity for our community to play together and work together and have entertainment together. As far as sustainability, an asphalt parking lot only has runoff. This is an area that does not have a long history of a solid sewer system. We see much flooding in that area. The water only runs off the asphalt, leading it to other parts of the neighborhood. This is an opportunity to create carbon sinks, opportunity to have green infrastructure that will soak up the water. As far as carbon, it gets hotter. It's only getting hotter in New York City and only getting wetter. This is an opportunity for us to help mitigate some of that by having green space to provide shade, green space that will soak up carbon, green space that will reduce heat. We desperately need that in this part of the borough. I've traveled all over the country seeing baseball stadiums. I've gone to 24 out of the 30 Major League Baseball parks. I've seen how they've built communities around these stadiums, providing for restaurants and for green space and for entertainment and for community space. This is an opportunity for us to do what they've been doing throughout the country. Queens deserves this. Our neighborhoods deserve this. And lastly, I'll just kind of really focus on the opportunity for community involvement. Mr. Cohen and his team has made this a ground up process. Lots of community meetings, opportunities for the community to be involved here and be part of this process, and to see what their vision is, whether it's the community dining hall, whether it's making sure for good union jobs and talking about the importance of jobs. I've heard someone else talk about internships. I know, opportunities for public space and for a better MTA. These are all things that we need here in the borough of Queens, and we shouldn't have to go over a bridge to get. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Constantinides, for your testimony. Next person up is Helen Artiega, followed by Ted Tang. Helen, are you present and ready to unmute?
Helen, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Hello, hi, good evening. My name is Helen, Dr. Helen Arteaga Landaverde. I am a resident here at Corona, Queens, and I'm also the proud and humble CEO of Elmer's Hospital. This project is so important for our community for two major reasons. First, we've never had an 8 million, again, I say 8 million over and over again, investment in our community. Our community often is overlooked. We're considered as low income, high immigrant population, where many people do not want to invest in our beloved borough. In the last 30 years that I've lived in my neighborhood, never have I seen this type of investment. And also the way it's being handled, getting community feedback. What do we want? What do we want to see in our parks? How do we want to see the parks? For me, that's super important because I'm a mom of 3 young children. And the fact that we can have moving space and it's going to be clean and safe, for me, is something I can't wait to have. Second, the major part as a community activist and also being a proponent of healthcare access, one of the major things Corona, Jackson Heights, Flushing suffers the most is from healthcare access. And when you look at the core of social determinants of health, it comes to individuals not having health insurance. And where do you get health insurance here in the US? 70% of the population in the US get health insurance via their jobs. And what is this program and this new development is going to create? Jobs that we need for our youth, jobs that we need for our patients, jobs that we need, because when you have a job, not only are you economically safe, but also you have access to healthcare. Sadly, when the pandemic hit our beloved nation, Corona, Queens was the epicenter of the epicenter. Hence, so was our hospital. And when you look back at the last 3 years of why we were the epicenter of the epicenter, is because our communities didn't have access to healthcare. They did not have access to insurance. So with jobs comes a healthy community, healthy community comes with good insurance, and good insurance comes with good healthcare. And what more could I want for my beloved community? I'm not planning to ever leave my beloved Corona, and I can't wait to see this project up and running. But more importantly, I know we're going to do a good job. They're listening to what we need. They're listening to the environmental concerns, to the safety concerns. And I can't wait to have something that we can show off the world how beautiful our beloved neighborhoods are.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Dr. Artiega. Thank you, everybody, for your patience with this process. Everybody that's been raising their hand is being addressed and put into the queue. The next 3 speakers will be Ted Tang, followed by Anthony Santiago, followed by Chad Hansen. Again, a reminder, please state your name and affiliation if you have one, and speak clearly and slowly for the translation services. Ted Tang, are you ready to unmute?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Please begin.
Hi, good evening. Hello, my name is Ted Tang, a Flushing native deeply rooted to the Queens community. I'm also a member of the Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce here. Reflecting on my formative years learning English in the basement of the old Flushing Library, Queens is the birthplace of my American dream. The plan for Metropolitan Park holds immense personal significance. Whether serving on my community board or collaborating with local nonprofit CBOs, my testimony today in strong favor of Metropolitan Park is another way for me to give back to the community that shaped me. Challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic hit Asian American communities and other minority enclaves particularly hard. Many of those enclaves are here in Queens and will directly benefit from this plan. Even recently, our small businesses face personal attacks, and we also see an increased surge of xenophobic attacks and larceny. Metropolitan Park is a practical solution for revitalizing our community and providing greater safety. Metropolitan Park will also bring in funds not only in tax revenue, but also in spending that will greatly benefit the area. Small businesses in the area will provide services such as dining and shopping to not only those who visit the park, but also to the thousands of employees and guests that will travel and or work in the area. In addition, the convention center will allow for our businesses to participate in procurement and marketing opportunities. While Metropolitan Park will offer an impressive array of venues, it's more than that. It's about creating a narrative that significantly benefits our area. Amid budget cuts, avoiding becoming an afterthought involves becoming an economic powerhouse. Metropolitan Park presents a compelling case for increased investment in our community's infrastructure with a great return on investment. By making Flushing a tourist destination and a revenue generator for the city, we show the need to further protect our community in a very practical sense. Impressively, the leaders of Metropolitan Park have committed to hiring locally, supporting minority and women-owned businesses, and implementing ongoing workforce training programs. This dedication ensures a strong foundation that the community can build upon, literally and figuratively, for years to come. In essence, Metropolitan Park is more than a development project. It's a catalyst for positive change, job creation, and economic prosperity, emphasizing the growth of our local small businesses. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for providing your testimony, Mr. Tang. The next speaker up is Anthony Santiago. If you're prepared to unmute, please do so. Following Mr. Santiago is Chad Hansen, followed by Jasami Hannes. Mr. Santiago, if you're prepared to unmute.
Hi, Ingrid. It appears we don't have any of those next 3 speakers. Anthony Santiago, Chad Hansen, or Jasmine Hannes are not appearing in the list at this time.
Okay. I would like to call then Jerry Lowe. Jerry Lowe, if you are present and able to unmute yourself. The next person after Mr. Lowe will be Jose Altamirano.
Sorry to report, I'm not seeing either of them in the list as well.
Do we have Poonam Bala present? Poonam Bala?
I am sorry, Ingrid, I am not seeing Poonam Bala in the list.
Thank you, everybody, for being patient with finding speakers present. Again, if the names that we have called do show up or you're participating by phone and we don't see your name, please use the raise hand feature to identify yourself. Do we have Jarvis Fernandez present, and can you unmute yourself?
Hey, Jarvis, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Good afternoon. Do you guys hear me?
Please begin. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Jarvis Fernandez. I am CEO of Fern Hospitality Group and Fern Real Estate Group, Emoji Burger, and Just Made for You in Jackson Heights. I currently live in Long Island, but have been part of the Jackson Heights community for the past 13 years, and I'm here to show my support to the Metropolitan Park project. I'm very, I have a lot of faith that this project will generate thousands of jobs to the community. It will also benefit, the community will also benefit from the infrastructure that this project is providing. It's also gonna benefit the area and beautify it. And I think this community is greatly in need of this. I'm also grateful with Mr. Cohen and his team for taking their time and projecting this with private funds. It's very important for us to know that this private funded project is not public. And, you know, I'm here to show my 100% support to this. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for providing your testimony, Mr. Fernandez. I'd like to see if Alex Vitolkas is present. Vitolkas?
Alex, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan and a big supporter of this project. As a business owner and native Queens, New Yorker, I'm wholeheartedly in favor of the Metropolitan Park project. We have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here to convert 50 acres of asphalt into a thriving development. This area does not do much for the community as is. And with that said, I would like to mention a perfect example of a project that was converted and has become a beautiful thing, which is the Resorts World Casino in South Ozone Park. This was once a desolate part of Queens and has been transformed into a now thriving community, which not only supports local small businesses, but has also generated over $3 billion to fund public education and has developed initiatives to support local communities and organizations. I think if we look at what this has brought to the community, the Queens Metropolitan Park project could do the same for Queens and Flushing alike. Thank you for having me, and we are totally in favor of this movement.
Thank you very much, Alex, for your testimony. I believe the next person up to speak is Simon Sheik. Simon Sheik, followed by Posh Sharitza. Simon, if you are prepared to unmute yourself, please let us know if you will be providing testimony in English or requiring the translator to translate from Mandarin.
At this time, I do not see Simon in the list. Looks like Simon is not here at this time.
Okay, can we see if Posh Saritsa, and pardon me if I'm mispronouncing your last name, is Posh here and able to unmute?
I do not see Posh in the attendee list at this time.
Do we have Noor Muyid?
I do not see Noor in the list at this time.
Is there a Joe Lamb
Yes,
present?
sir. Joe, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Hello.
Hello, please begin.
My name is Joe Lam, and I'm so honored to speak on behalf of the Chinese community. I live in downtown Brooklyn, but I visit Flushing 3-4 times weekly. All my friends and all my entertainments are in Flushing. I have no affiliation. I'm a small business owner, but I'm joining this call here to express my enthusiastic support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I wholeheartedly believe Metropolitan Park is an unprecedented opportunity for Flushing Chinese community for two very important reasons. Number one, it creates a much needed park and open space for the overly congested Flushing residents. Flushing residents have increased by manifold over the years, over the decade, without having the leisure space to relax and to entertain. And I think the Metropolitan Park opportunity will give the congested Flushing residents a spacious backyard for them to enjoy their leisure. And number two is that the Metropolitan Park idea would be a timely opportunity to create good paying job, not to mention supporting small business development in Flushing. And we know that the Chinese community is full of entrepreneurship. Given the looming recession, the Metropolitan Park idea can clearly provide a myriad of economic benefits to the Flushing Chinese community. Besides high-paying jobs, the implication for local small businesses is simply too significant to forgo. I deeply appreciate the opportunity that you allow me to weigh in. Again, I want to stress once more, the Metropolitan Park idea will be very, very meaningful for our Flushing Chinese community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. We appreciate your testimony. Next in line to speak is Henry L. Henry L., if you are present, please unmute yourself. After Henry, we have Anthony Giorgio.
Hello.
Hello, Henry. Please begin.
Hi, my name is Henry Lowe, and I'm a Queens resident of about 11 years. I'm here today to express my support, strong support for the Metropolitan Park project. I'm excited that that it's privately funded investment and will create a ton of local jobs, both during construction and after. I'm told the leaders of Metropolitan Park have also committed to offering ongoing workforce training programs, which is great. I also think that turning the 50 acres of land into parks for the public and also creating not just a casino, but an entertainment venue and convention center will be great for the borough. I think we should pass, I'm sorry. I think we shouldn't pass up this opportunity. Let's not make the same mistake we did with Amazon. Thank you again for allowing me to voice my stance. Thank you and happy holidays.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe, for providing your testimony. The next two speakers, if you are present, Anthony Giorgio, followed by Peter Wang. And I would like to identify if there are speakers that have yet to raise their hand but would like to provide testimony. Please keep your hand up and we will put you in queue. We will be prepared after the next few speakers to take a very short break just to allow people to collect their thoughts. So Anthony Giorgio, if you're prepared to unmute. Anthony Giorgio.
You should be able to unmute when ready, Anthony. I also sent a request to unmute that should pop up on your screen.
Again, we thank everybody for your patience and speaking clearly and slowly for our translation services. Mr. Giorgio?
Okay, I'm not hearing anything coming through, and Anthony has yet to go off mute, so they may be experiencing some issues.
Okay. Can we try for Peter Huang? Are you present?
Peter, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Yes, hello?
Hi, please begin. Thank you.
Hi. I'm actually a resident of Long Island, but I work in Corona, Queens. And as a lifelong Islanders fan, I can only think of the Charles Wang's Lighthouse project back in the day in Uniondale. How there were big plans very similar to this project. And that project never happened. And now there's just a big asphalt parking lot in Uniondale that's just sitting there. The Nassau Coliseum is, I guess it's empty. I don't know if they're using it at all anymore. And then I look at the UBS Center at Belmont Park, the Islanders' new home. And again, I think there's a lot of parallels with this project as well. So it's kind of interesting to see you can kind of see, it's not an exact, it's a perfect comparison, but you can kind of see what could happen if the project doesn't happen in Uniondale and what could happen with the project at Belmont at the UBS Arena. So that's really, so for that, I'm looking to support this project because I think it'd be great for the community because I work near the Museum of Science. And there's no hotels, there's nothing in that area. And I know there's a lot of children that frequent the area. I know there's the zoo as well. And with the proximity of this project, I mean, there's opportunity to expand those areas as well. But yeah, I mean, I'm just speaking more just childhood, my memories, just going to Nassau Coliseum. That's not there anymore. And it's just an eyesore. It's a big parking lot, just like Flushing is. So that's all I really wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your testimony with us, Mr. Wang. The next two speakers in line are Carolina Bustamante, followed by Isabel Ching. And I'd like to identify we will probably be taking a break after these next two speakers, a very short break. So please, everybody who has not yet had a chance to speak or have raised their hand, please be prepared to do so, and we will get you in line to speak after the break. So Carolina Bustamante, if you're prepared to unmute yourself, please state your name and affiliation for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Carolina Bustamante. I am from Korean American Studies Center. I live in Corona, Queens. I am here today to express my strong support for the Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe the Metropolitan Park presents a unique opportunity to create a vibrant and safe community space, complete with athletic fields and playgrounds, which will not only benefit our community, but also generate sustainable local employment opportunity and bolster small business. As I am a dedicated member of this community, and like I say, an employee at the Korean American Family Service Center, a non-profit organization dedicated to serving our community, I support Queens Future Plan for Metropolitan. The Northwest Queens neighborhood has long been neglected, with insufficient lighting and safety concerns that deter families' activities. Abandoned for a long time. The prospect of transforming 50 acres of parking lots into accessible public art in both inspiring and promising. Under this development plan, I'm thrilled to learn of the potential creation of 15,000 local, well-paying permanent and construction jobs, along with along with sorry, along with focus on supporting local and the minority woman business entrepreneurs. I am convinced that the Metropolitan Park project will contribute to a stronger sense of community by providing gathering places that brings residents together and attract visitors. Witnessing the growth of my neighborhood and seeing our residents actively contributing to its success will be immensely satisfying. And thank you again for this opportunity to testify. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bustamante. Appreciate your testimony. Isabel Ching, are you present and able to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, please
Oh,
begin.
great. Good evening. My name is Isabel Ching. I'm the executive director for Hamilton Madison House. It's a social service agency that's been serving the community for over 125 years, providing services to the most vulnerable communities in New York City. We've been the provider of mental health services to the residents of Corona, Queens, and we are the largest and oldest behavioral health clinic specializing in serving the Asian Americans in the East Coast. We provide assessment, counseling, treatment to more than 650 of our residents who are suffering from mental illness every year. Our clinicians speak 11 Asian languages and dialects and provide culturally sensitive care to New Yorkers who often find it difficult to find a therapist who speaks their language and thoroughly understands their background. So for 41 years, we've been serving the residents of Corona and surrounding neighborhoods. When we opened our Korean clinic and supportive housing in 1982, the Korean clinic serves over 45 patients a year, and we also provide supportive housing for about 50 clients. I'm here to express my support of the Queens Future Plan for the Metropolitan Park because I believe that will have a positive impact in our communities. And if we want a positive impact to our communities in Queens and for our communities to thrive, it would mean, most importantly, our most vulnerable will also thrive in this community once this park has been built. So I want to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Cheng, for your testimony. I'd like to announce that at this point, we will just be taking a brief break, 5 to 10 minutes. I would like to announce that the speakers ready for after the break will be Josefina Difu, followed by Larry Gallegos, followed by Robert Dorsky. We will be taking a 5-10 minute break. When we come back, again, Josefina Difu, Larry Gallegos, and Robert Dorsky. Thank you, everybody, and we'll be right back. Hello, everybody. We are back. Thank you for your patience with this process. And I just want to announce that if you have not already been addressed with a raised hand and put into queue to speak, please raise your hand and we will do our best to get you in line to speak. Apologies. So our next speakers up, Josephine Diffou, Larry Gallegos, and Robert Dororsky. Josephina, are you prepared to unmute and speak?
Hi, Ingrid. I do not see Josephina in the list at this time.
Okay, we'll come back to Josephina if you return. Larry Gallegos, are you present and prepared to unmute?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Larry Gallegos, lifelong Queens resident, raised in Jackson Heights, live in Woodside, and I want to wholeheartedly support this project. I think, as a lot of the folks on the call have mentioned before, this is great for the surrounding communities, job opportunities, a great investment in the community. And I plead with everyone when looking into this economic impact study, please take into consideration what the actual community wants. What the Cohens have invested in the community. They're out there. They're listening to what the community folks want. I hear a lot of talk about communities of color and the impact it's going to have on them. As a Latino man that was raised in this area, I'm telling you, listen to the actual folks that live there. Let's not let outsiders dictate what happens with this project. There's a lot of good that comes from it. And I think it's important to continue, just keep the community first. If that's done, I think this will head in the right direction. So fully support this project as long as the community is kept first, which the Cohens seem to have been doing. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Gallegos. Do we have Robert Dororsky present? Ready to unmute?
Whenever you're ready, Robert, you should be able to unmute.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Please begin.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Dorsky. I represent Kaizen Restaurant in Flushing, Queens. We've been around for about 2 years. I employ 30 people locally. When I first heard of this project, the Metropolitan Park, I was very excited. As a lifelong New Yorker and someone who's been in Queens for the past 25 years, I'm excited to see growth and opportunity for all of my neighbors, my coworkers, everyone in New York City. We need more projects like this to happen that create jobs, that beautify our neighborhoods, that create jobs, and so forth. It also takes an empty void, something that's not very attractive, and it makes it very attractive. It creates work possibilities. We'll bring in tourism. I've said this for a while now. We're fortunate to have 2 airports in Queens, JFK and LaGuardia. It's very upsetting that people come to New York City to visit, and the first place they go is the city. I prefer them to stay in Queens, spend their money here, increase the tourism here, and I believe this opportunity being presented by Steve Cohen and his team will be very, very beneficial for all of us. So on behalf of Kaizen, my partners who are also in the construction business, we welcome this, we encourage this, and we absolutely 100% look forward to this. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing it being built.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Dororsky. I'd like to next call Devon Mushaw Evans, if you are present, to unmute yourself. Devon Mushaw Evans, followed by Shakat Ali.
Hi, Devon. You should be able to unmute anytime. Sent a request to unmute. You should have a pop-up on your screen with an unmute button. Hey, Ingrid, Devon
Okay.
may be experiencing a technical issue.
Okay, so shall we move on to Shaukat Ali?
I do not see them in the list at this time.
Okay, do we have Robinson Iglesias?
Yes, we do. Robinson, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Okay, so my name is Robinson Iglesias. I live in Staten Island with my wife and 3 children. I have community ties in Queens, several family members, lots of friends and business associates who live and work in Queens. I am here today to express my support for the Queens future plan for Metropolitan Park. I believe parks and open green spaces are essential to the health and well-being of our entire New York City community. I support the transformation of 50 acres of pavement into community parks, athletic fields, restaurants, and entertainment venues. This will continue to make Queens not just a place you drive through, but it will make it a place where people can have a destination where they can go and improve their daily life. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Devon Mishaw Evans, are you clear with your mic?
It looks like they may have rebooted to try
Okay.
to troubleshoot an issue. I can keep an eye. Oh, actually, Devon just came back. Devon, go ahead and if you can try to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Please speak
Fantastic.
as loud as you can and nice and clear. Thank you very much.
1 second. So my name is Devon, and I'm a resident in Valley Stream. And I just wanted to express that I'm excited about the Metropolitan Park and the $8 billion privately funded investment that will create 15,000 local, good-paying, permanent, and construction jobs. I feel like it's a very good way to help the community to build, I want to say, a foundation for people who are struggling with finding a permanent job. So I believe that this new project will indeed help a lot of people, and I appreciate you letting me speak on my testimony.
Thank you, Devon, for your testimony today. I'm sorry, did we still have Shaukat Ali present?
They are still not here at this time.
Okay. Next in line will be Marissa Swan. Excuse me for mispronouncing your last name. Marissa Sengoswan.
And Marissa, you should be ready to unmute. I'm sorry, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please begin.
Yes, hi. My name is Marissa Sangsawan. I'm the owner of Grace Thai Restaurant in Elmhurst, and we're really excited about this project. We're thankful for Mr. Cohen to reaching out to the community and letting us know about his plans and including us in the plans. We are excited to give our input, and we are for this project. We just would like to see Queens come to 21st century. I believe it'll be a revitalization. My only concern is the traffic on Roosevelt Avenue, as well as the problem with the flooding. I went to the town hall meeting. A lot of the community live in that area are concerned about the flooding. So when they do the studies, I would encourage the environmental studies to see if there's a way to help with that. I also not only am an owner, but I also live in Queens, and I just feel that it'll lift up this area, and I'm so for this, and we're just excited to be a part of it if we possibly can just help in any way in the community, just reach out to us. Again, this is Marissa from Grace Thai Restaurant, and we're here in Elmhurst, and we would like to speak out for the Thai community. We're excited about this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Marissa. The next three speakers in line are Ron He, followed by John Bedoya, followed by Marcos Machuca. I would like to repeat, it's helpful everybody speak slowly for the translation services, and appreciate you identifying if you are affiliated with any community organization. Ron He, are you available to unmute yourself?
Ron, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Unfortunately, we don't hear you, Ron. Can you try again?
Okay, Ron may be experiencing a technical issue.
For the moment, we'll move on to John Bedoya. John, are you prepared to unmute?
Sorry, Ingrid, I do not see John in the list at this time.
Okay. Marcos Machuca, are you present?
I'm sorry, Ingrid. I do not see them either. Let me get you the next couple speakers here.
We thank all of the participants for your patience in the process in queuing up people ready to testify. John and Marcos, when you are present, please raise your hand and we will cycle you back in. Do we have Tony Alarcon present?
Tony, you should be able to unmute when ready.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Antonio or Tony Alarcon. I live in East Elmhurst, but a longtime Corona resident. I'm here today to express my support for the Queens Future Plan for the Metropolitan Park. I believe the Metropolitan Park is our opportunity to bring good jobs, union jobs to our community. As someone who was raised in Corona, we never had the opportunity to experience union jobs, right? Because most of the jobs were part of at the city. This Metropolitan Park will provide that for the future generations. What I like about this project is also that our community has been part of the process since the very beginning, including our tias, abuelas, doñas, and community in general. Unlike other projects, this project has ensured that language justice is also included so our community can understand what's going on. In multiple occasions, people that I know has expressed to me that how this project is different from many others because they care. Additionally, Metropolitan Park will bring a transformation of the 50 acres of asphalt into a community park with athletic fields and playgrounds in our community. During the pandemic, many of us didn't have the privilege of having a car to escape the city and to have fresh air. The lack of parks in this area is clear. Metropolitan Park will bring the relief we need. We need the transformation. We will transform asphalt into a green space, and the trees, the grass, and the vegetation planted at the Metropolitan Park will help to clean the air by absorbing pollutants and releasing oxygen. The current parking lot contributes to the climate crisis. Let's do the right thing and create this park, the Metropolitan Park. Thank you again for allowing me to testify. And again, I want to express my strong support to the Metropolitan Park. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your testimony today, Anthony. Do we have Fernando Ruiz present?
At this time, I do not see them in the list.
Okay. Moving to the next name, we have Huanji Lee. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your name. Huanji Lee.
You should be.
Hello.
Yes. Hi
Please
everyone.
begin.
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Correct. We can hear you. Please begin.
Yeah. So I'm here with the new Fund Center. So we'll be submitting a restaurant testimony to address our opposition against the casino plan. So like it's called the Metropolitan Park, but like really we're really concerned about the casino aspect of it, and we will be submitting a testimony soon.
Okay, you're identifying you will be providing written testimony?
Yes, I'm on
Okay.
the train now, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. We look forward to receiving your testimony via email or mail, which is currently on screen. Next in line to speak is Jackie Smiley. Are you present and able to unmute?
At this time, I do not see Jackie in the list.
And apologies if I went past Fernando Ruiz. Is he confirmed not present?
That is correct.
And just to acknowledge, I see we have some participant hand raises. We will be putting you in queue. Thank you for acknowledging your presence here today. Next in line, Patrice Seeley. Are you present and able to unmute?
Hi, yes,
Hi.
I'm here.
Please begin.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Patrice Seeley, and I live in Brooklyn. I'm here today to speak on my support for the Queens Future Plan for the Metropolitan Park. The formation of this project would provide people with jobs and allow opportunities for internships. It would also create a strong sense of community for Queens. As a resident of Brooklyn, I do appreciate the public spaces that we have, and it gave me a better sense of my community and to make it a more better and memorable place. So I do support this plan.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms. Seeley.
Thank you.
Next speaker in line is Jose Carcanion. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your last name. Jose Carcanion.
I do not see Jose as present at this time.
Okay. And next in line would be Alejandra Giron, followed by Maria Fierro. Alejandra, are you present and able to unmute?
I do not see Alejandra present.
Do we have Maria Fierro?
Yep, Maria, whenever you're ready.
Afraid we don't hear you yet, Maria.
Can you hear me?
Yes, correct.
Okay, great.
Please begin.
Yes, good evening. I am Maria Fierro. I live in Queens and I have been serving the community of Corona, Elmhurst, and Jackson Heights for over 25 years. I sit in the Board of Neighborhood Housing and I sit in the Board of Elmhurst, the advisory board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my support for Metropolitan Park. I believe in Metropolitan Park because it's going to make a positive impact in so many ways. And I think you have heard so many people say today that it will create job opportunities, support small business and nonprofits. And again, like the CEO of Elmhurst Hospital said, how important it is for people to have secure jobs so they could have insurance. And definitely, I was part of seeing my community being impacted with COVID and so many people not having insurance and not having jobs and having a lot of struggles. So definitely having this project will change that for our community. So definitely, that's one of the reasons I support it. The other reason it will definitely bring class world entertainment, music, sport, and more. But what is really near to my heart is that it will create green space for our children to play is something very needed in the community. I think somebody already mentioned it. We do have a lot of youth in these neighborhoods, and we do need that green space. So I support metropolitan open green space are essential to the health and happiness of our community. We need and deserve these open park areas for our families. So I hope, people do take the time to understand the impact of not having this project. Metropolitan Park will be a one-stop for all entertainment. Not supporting this project is not an option. I invite all of you to take a walk around CityField. It's a ghost town. Again, it's a disconnect. When there's no games or anything, there's nothing to do there. It's dark, it's unsafe. So definite having the Metropolitan Park project will really transform not only the area, but I think Queens and even New York City. I think it will be a win-win for everyone. So I believe and I strongly support. And again, I think this is a win-win for everyone. Thank you and have a great evening and happy holidays.
Thank you, Ms. Fierro, for your testimony, and happy holidays to you as well. I would like to call Jose Tejeda, followed by Jarvis Fernandez. Jose Tanada.
We're actually seeing a duplicate of a Jose Tejada in here. That can happen sometimes if there's an issue with the Zoom client. So I'm going to unmute the first Jose with the raised hand and lower that hand and hope I have the right one. And then if not, could the other one please raise your hand afterwards? I'm going to go ahead. I hope this is the right Jose Tejada. You may speak when ready.
Jose, we can't hear you just yet. Can you try again?
Showing is unmuted now. Okay, maybe a technical issue.
Is
Hopefully
there a second one to try? Second Jose?
Well, the other Jose Tejada in the meeting didn't raise their hand, so I think
Okay.
we got the correct participant. It looks like they might just be dealing with an issue on their end, but we can revisit in a minute.
Okay, is Jarvis Fernandez ready to unmute?
I do not see Jarvis in the list at this time.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for being patient while we cycle through the people who are interested in providing testimony. Jose Tejeda, when you are ready to speak, we will put you back in line. I would, however, like to call a few people that were not present when we originally called you to see if you might be here. I see that there are a few hands raised right now. We will make sure that you are put into the queue. Is Mitch Lisker here?
I do not see Mitch.
Okay. Did Bright Lim or Carmel Wilson return?
Neither of them have returned.
Jamie Ong?
Not present.
Apologies. Okay. Leslie Cervantes?
Leslie is not here.
Anthony Santiago?
Not present.
Chad Hansen?
Not present.
Jasami Hanus?
Not here.
Jerry Lowe?
Not present.
Jose Altamirano?
Not here.
Punam Bala?
Not here.
Jagadish Shetty,
Not present.
Simon Sheik,
Not present.
Pash Shretsa,
Not here.
Noor Muyed,
Not present.
Alex Vitukas,
Not present.
okay, give me a minute. Anthony Giorgio.
We do have Anthony Giorgio here. Anthony, I will go ahead and give you the ability to unmute when ready.
Anthony, are you able to unmute?
I just sent a request to unmute. There should be a button on your screen you can click.
I'm afraid we're not hearing you, Anthony. Is a Josephina Difu present?
Not present.
Shakat Ali present?
Not present.
Ron He?
Ron He is present.
Ron, if you would still like to...
Yes, do you hear me?
We hear you. Please begin.
Hi, my name is Ron He. I'm an owner of Advanced Towing in Flushing, Queens, and I'm a migrant. I came to the United States of America in 1984, and it's been 40 years, and I live in Queens for about like 30 years, and it's different. Now I walk around Flushing, it's filthy. There's a lot of unemployment. And with this project, I really think that it's going to help out the city, the people, and the park. This project is going to be well maintained, I heard, clean with cameras and security. And as far as the migrant crisis, with this, I think is an opportunity to bring a lot of jobs into the community. And the marina is beautiful. I don't know if some of these people been in Flushing before, but it's beautiful where the water is. And with this project being around the water, I think it's going to transform Flushing, and hopefully it's going to bring people back to Flushing, make New York City great again. And I just want to thank all you people giving me the opportunity to speak out. Thank you.
We thank you for your testimony, Ron. It looks like we have Jose Tejeda. Are you able to unmute? After Jose, we have Afasia Kass. Yes, I hear
believe
you.
I have a muted.
Yes, we can hear you now. Please begin. I think you muted again. Jose, please unmute and speak very clearly.
Sorry about that. I have been waiting for the past 3 hours, I believe, and this is the longest I ever waited to to be able to give my my thought and my support. And I believe I stay on because this is very important, and I strongly support this initiative. Again, my name is Jose Tejada, and the Executive Director of the Dominican American Society of Queens, where we have been serving the community resident of Corona, Jackson Heights, and the city of New York for the past 30 years. I believe Metropolitan Park is an opportunity to secure a better future for the community resident residing in the surrounding neighborhood and no Queens resident. I have been in full support since the very beginning, as I feel that the project has been put in place with the community first. I feel fully heard and included in the process. I look forward to the opening of the hotel and the conference facility. As a longtime resident of Corona, Queens, I'm very proud to remind all that our community is the most diverse in the world. At the same time, it's a shame that visitors who attend the Mets game or US Open must leave back to Manhattan for lodging, dining, and watching Broadway venue. Metropolitan Park is a community-driven vision. Steve Cohen has been clear from the very beginning about the importance of securing any vision for the area around CityField in the right way. This project has put a community first by actively listening to the community through our community workshop, hundreds of meetings with local community leaders, and over 1,000 door-to-door conversation with our neighbor. Metropolitan Park is designed to ensure that there is community input and the right kind of engagement to build something that will last for generations. Metropolitan Park is our opportunity to put Queens first. I am putting Queens first by fully supporting this magnificent vision. Are you ready to put Queens first? Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you for providing your testimony, Jose, and we appreciate you waiting for the 3 hours. We know this is a long process, and we are grateful for everybody's participation today. The next 2 people in line are Fasia Kass, followed by John Bedoya. Fasia, are you prepared to unmute?
Hi, Ingrid. It looks like she left the webinar, but we do have John Bedoya online.
John, are you prepared to unmute?
Whenever you're ready, John.
Fortunately, we're not hearing you, John.
Okay, John, I see the hand raise again. Let's see.
While we're figuring out the technical difficulties with John, do we still have a Marcos Machuca present?
Not present at this time.
Jackie Smiley?
Not present at this time.
Jose Canyon?
Not present.
Alejandra, oh, I believe we said Alejandra Giron is not present.
Right.
Okay, and Jarvis Fernandez?
Not present.
John, John Bedoya, are you able to unmute? Or maybe you're having connectivity issues?
I also sent a chat message to John and have not received a response.
Well, in the meantime, if there are any current participants who have not yet spoken but would like to provide testimony, please raise your hand now. I think we have cycled through the full list of people that registered or raised hands. And aside from John Bedoya, I don't think we have anybody additional prepared to speak. Again, if you would like to speak. For those of you who may be having technical difficulties, we would advise please email the email that's currently on your screen and or address that's listed, and I will, they're actually in the chat feature right now. My email is iyoung@moec.nyc.gov. You may provide your testimony via email if you are unable to speak this evening, or continue your comments and testimony in an email written form, or mailed to 100 Gold Street, 2nd floor, New York, New York, 10038. Can we confirm that John is not able to connect with audio?
It looks like John has dropped off.
Do we have any additional raised hands?
Ingrid, at this time, we have no remaining registrants and no raised hands. And no tech support emails pending assistance either.
Okay. Well, I'd like to give another minute if there is somebody who was not present and has been called but would like to speak now. Again, we ask that you raise your hand. If we do not have any additional speakers prepared to provide testimony this evening, we will be ending this portion of the scoping hearing this evening. We do want to thank everybody that has attended this evening and been patient with this process. The draft scope of work and EAS materials are available through secret access. The website is in the chat. You may view these and provide any additional testimony via email, which is listed on screen right now, or physical address, should you choose. The comment period was extended through Friday, January 12th, 2024. We appreciate the ability for you to review these documents and provide your testimony. If there are no further speakers that wish to provide testimony this evening, and upon seeing no additional raised hands, I would like to end this portion of the testimony. The time is now 7:03 p.m. And I thank you very much for joining us today for the Queens Future Development Public Scoping Meeting. And again, you may submit any further testimony on the draft scope of work up through 5 p.m. Friday, January 12th, 2024, to the contacts that are listed now on screen. We thank you for your time and dedication this evening, and we wish you a good holiday. Good night, everybody.